Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legends Lookback, proudly part of the Youtini podcast network. It's a Star Wars books podcast for people who wear Ren and Stimpy pajamas, where we talk about all things Legends, celebrating our rich EU history, as well as diving into lesser-known Star Wars classics. I'm your host, Jared Mays, and today I'm joined by my good friend Freddy C., who just woke up but had his protocol droid make him a steaming hot cup of calf. What's up, Freddy?
I'm good, and I woke up not too long ago, maybe about 40 minutes ago, so this is going to be fantastic.
Oh my gosh, so good. So great. Oh man. Well, it's fun to see you, even though we were just talking to each other, 2 days ago on Thursday night, but if you're watching this live, that doesn't matter to you because here you are. You're watching it. It's time for the show. And also, we've got something really fun for this episode that is going to be a surprise to us. Our good buddy Trevor from across the pond is going to be recording some segments for us to throw in here in the edit because we have to have his expertise in this episode. Here's the fun thing, Freddie. Neither you nor I know what he's going to say. And we're going to be finding out and reacting for the first time on Thursday as we watch the show live with everybody else. Looking forward to that. And thank you, Trev, for chipping in. This episode, of course, is about, the only person who's no good to us dead. Well, or maybe it's the other people who are no good to us dead. It's been a long time coming. What's that?
Han Solo's no good to us dead.
Solo's no good to us dead. We're talking about the legendary history of Boba Fett. This time, no disintegrations. All right. From his introduction in the animated segment and holiday special, which was recently re-released on Disney+, to his resurrection in Dark Empire, to his impersonation by Jodo Cast in his redemption arc in Legacy of the Force. Man, Boba's made his rounds in Legends, hasn't he?
Oh, my goodness.
We are here to break it all down. Plus, he is back now in the spotlight with his reappearance in The Mandalorian, his very own live-action show debuting this fall. Man, it's the year of Boba Fett, isn't it? And he's got his very own crossover event in War of the Bounty Hunters. Just had 40 Boba Fett variant cover issues. You pick up any of these, Freddie?
I did.
War of the Bounty Hunters?
Yeah, I picked up a good amount. I'm not going to say how many.
I didn't get any because I've been collecting the High Republic #1s.
Oh, okay.
And that's gotten out of hand. I think I just picked up my 10th this week. It just got the 5th printing, the High Republic #1. And this guy was like, at the comic book store, he's like, I feel like every time we get new High Republic #1s, you're here when the door opens. And I'm like, you are correct, good sir. That is me. Here I am. Well, I can't wait for you to show off in the Discord which ones you got. I'm interested.
Yeah. It's going to be exciting. I'll take some pictures. And everyone should see them by Thursday when this show goes up. So
excellent. Yeah, I was tempted. I might have ordered one. Might have ordered several. I don't remember. That's like a fun game I play with my future self is I'll order things and then instantly forget about them. So that it's not on purpose either. But then when a package arrives, I'm always like, what's this going to be? And then if it's like art supplies for my wife's business or something, I'm always like, it's not Star Wars. But it's fine. It's fine. You know what else is fine? We've got some recent acquisitions we want to show off. I just showed off High Republic #1, the 5th printing, which I think is my 10th copy of this. I don't have them all, but I've got a bunch. I got a couple of other things that they're not new since Thursday. I just forgot to show them off on Thursday. So it's good to have a redo 2 days later. Before I do, how about you, Freddie? You got any new ones? It's not been long since we last talked.
Yeah. I was sitting in the airport thinking, okay, I don't have anything to show for this episode, but I did complete my comic book, Legends comic book collection. So
what?
It's all digital, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's not physical, but I finally have every single Legends comic book just sitting in the palm of my hand.
Everybody
How great is that?
Freddie a virtual round of applause. Here's the thing, Freddie. I thought I did in the May the 4th sale last week, but it was like admittedly tough to navigate because there were some books that you could buy for 99 cents or $1.99 as a trade paperback digitally, 5 or 6 issues. But then they could also have that exact 5 or 6 issues collected in a Dark Horse omnibus that had, it was the same price, 99 cents, $1.99, with way more issues. And that happened to me a couple times where I like accidentally purchased the same thing twice. It's like only $1 or $2, so not a big deal, but
yeah,
that really adds up. And so I was doing research for this episode and realized I went to read kicking my feet back up in my camping chair. My kids played in the yard. So I'm going to read Boba Fett and the Ship of Fear while my kids play. Got like, an hour here. It's probably just the right amount of time. Knock out a few issues. It's not on there. I didn't get it. Where is it? Why don't I have it? What happened, Freddie? It's okay. One of these days there'll be another sale, and then I'll finally complete the collection. Well, I've got another trade paperback that is actually physical, not digital. I was in a comic book store the other day, saw this, and was like, I feel like I need it. It just looks gorgeous. And that is the Forever Crimson trade paperback that was just, what year is it, Freddie?
Forever Crimson.
All right, no, tell our listeners who are listening in the future what year we're recording this episode.
So currently the year is 2021, if I got that correctly. What happened to 2020? We won't speak of that year.
No, it doesn't exist. Does not exist. How about when did Legends books stop being written?
I believe that was 2015, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 2014.
2014. Okay, it was. Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah.
Now,
whatever.
Here's the crazy thing. There's an issue in Forever Crimson, that is a Legends story. I don't think we've talked about this on the show. That was first published in 2019. It says 2019. Star Wars 108 was the continuation of the mainline original old school Marvel comic. And they wanted to bridge the gap with Valence's origin story. He had a few appearances in the old Marvel run. They wanted to bring him back in the current canon comics. And so they're like, here we go. One last ride for Valence. So they kind of under the radar published another Legends story in 2019. Isn't that wild?
That is wild. The fact that Legends just permeates even till now is just proof that I don't know, Legends is here forever.
There's also a green rabbit in here that I know that Joxy's gonna love. So excited about this. It collects. Let's see, what issues does this say? Normally they tell us. All right, Star Wars, the original Marvel comic from 1977, collecting issues, and this is so random. Listen to this: 16, 27, 29, 50, and 108.
Clearly.
But this has got to be the most gorgeous cover. Man, that orange. You got Vader dueling Valence. And we are actually planning a Valence Spotlight episode for Legends Lookback. You want to know who he is? What's his whole deal? Hey, I don't know. I only know his canon stuff, unfortunately. So we'll have to go back and find out what he was doing in Legends, and I can't wait. Why is he dueling with Darth Vader? I'm so excited. So excited. Well, in terms of Thracken's Thrift Store, that's what we've got this week. However, there's a couple things on the horizon. It's time for Legends Lookout. Freddie, in Bounty Hunters number 12, I just told you I've been reading the Canon Bounty Hunters comics. It's got Valence in there. Getting ready for War of the Bounty Hunters. Have to. This looks really fun. The way it ties in, kind of parallels Shadows of the Empire from back in the day, which we're getting ready for. There's this big fuss in the fandom. Did you see this, Freddie?
I didn't.
I've got some Funkos back here. I've got all the original Bounty Hunters from The Empire Strikes Back. And I want to know, how do you pronounce Zuckus's boyfriend, partner? What's his droid?
Yeah,
partner?
I mean, whatever they are to each other. They're I know that this is a thing, and I know that everybody has been trying to figure out, the best way to say this or the right way to say this.
Yeah,
I've always said Forlom, but I know that there's a LO. Everyone's trying to go with this LOM deal.
No, you're right, Freddie. Real fans. No, we don't play the real fan game around here. Freddie and I, personally, as well as several other friends of ours, have pronounced his name as Forlom. Now, which one is Zuckus and which one is Forlom? I'm such a fake fan. I don't know.
Forlom is the droid.
They both look like
one's an insect and one's a droid.
Sure, but their heads look nearly identical. I actually think I wrote like a Zuckus and Forlom article for Youtini at one point, and I've already forgotten. But yeah, in the story, they spelled out his name phonetically: Forlom, Eloemm. And boy, was I in a rage fit all day.
Yeah.
And actually, I mean, I roll with punches on stuff like this. It doesn't bother me. But it was fun to freak out with other people who were freaking out. And I love Zuckus and Forlom. Man, I love them so much. It was just announced this week, Daniel Jose Older is going to be writing his first Marvel comic, his first Star Wars Marvel comic. He's writing the Zuckus and Forlom special for War of the Bounty Hunters for LOM. I can't do it, Freddie. I can't do it.
Nope. Never will. Never will. Sorry.
So let us know, everybody. How do you pronounce Zuckus's bro? His droid? He's a droid? He's a droid thing? But their heads are identical. I hate this. Oh my gosh. Star Wars, what are you doing to me? And one other fun thing on Legends Lookout that I want to put on people's radar, our buddy, friend of the show, friend of Youtini, Kevin Scott, we haven't had him on our show yet. One of these days, Kevin posted on Twitter the other day, he's been rereading the original Thrawn trilogy. And when I'm on Twitter and I see a Star Wars author that I love posting about one of my favorite Star Wars books, I mean, it's just like, it's a good day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Very exciting. Very exciting. So Kevin is rereading the Thrawn trilogy. He was talking about how it starts building. The world building is so excellent, so foundational, different style, but such a fun ride. Would really love to hear more of his takes on that. If you want more of what Kevin has to say on Heir to the Empire, check him out over there on the socials. Didn't we give him an award for being good at social media in our Youtini Oscars?
I'm terrible at social media, so definitely not to me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he won an award. So good job. I imagine there's another award in your future, especially if you keep talking about Legends books. But now, Freddie, this episode, as we get to talking about Boba Fett here. Boba Fett. I can't keep doing that joke every time I say his name. It's going to be a long episode. Where? I want to know, Freddie, he's your favorite character, right? Why do you personally love Boba Fett?
Yeah. This is a big question. This is like asking what's the meaning of life to me. Boba Fett. The first time I laid eyes on Boba Fett back in 1997 in the special editions, he showed up right in the scene when Han is trying to get onto the Millennium Falcon.
No, Freddie, don't.
Yeah, that was the first time I ever saw him. I did not see him in the 1978 holiday special until much later.
Somewhere Joe Johnston is cringing as you talk about his character originating in a special edition.
Yeah. So the first time I saw him, I remember asking my parents as if they would know. I was like, who is that? Who is that guy in the background?
We don't know, nerd.
Get out of here, nerd. And I just, there was something about the way he looked that just captured my attention. And of course, I saw Empire Strikes Back, and then I almost said Revenge of the Jedi, Return of the Jedi.
That's what my poster says.
Oh, yeah.
Checks out.
Checks out. So, and I just tried thinking, as I saw the show notes, why did I like Boba Fett? And I wrote down some notes here. And I think mainly because
Freddie's got notes, y'all.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see them. I've got these are my Boba Fett notes.
Amazing. Let's frame them.
Yeah.
Put him in a helmet.
So back in the day, right, Boba Fett had 5 lines, and that's all he needed to capture. I mean, it's not just me. It's a lot of people. A lot of people just love Boba Fett, and the fact that he is this gunslinger, Western gunslinger, and they, the sound guys made sure they put in spurs when he was walking, the sounds of spurs.
Yeah, right.
So
even though he doesn't have spurs on his boots,
he doesn't have spurs. He doesn't need them. He doesn't need them. He probably could just play it through his armor as he's walking.
What if
not?
He's just making the sound effect with his mouth every time he walks?
Ching, ching. No one would be able to tell, right?
Right.
Exactly. So he reminds me of this samurai / gunslinger who are, in my opinion, my favorite characters in a lot of movies, right? You've got Clint Eastwood, of course you've got like Kurosawa, where a lot of the theme came from, in my opinion. And he is just this mysterious person with 5 lines that just captures your attention. And when Vader says no disintegrations, it's almost like Boba Fett just is like, fine, I guess, right? And it's like the fact that this guy Vader has to tell this guy no disintegrations, and you're just like, who is this guy? Like, what's his story?
Did he disintegrate? That's one of my favorite storytelling tropes with Boba Fett, is all the things he disintegrates. Yeah. Because people are always like, well, what does he disintegrate? It's so, for example, in The Mandalorian, he's got like the big original holiday special Boba Fett blaster, the long rifle with the fork end. and he disintegrates Jawas with it, which is cool.
Yeah.
It's obviously a different Mandalorian, but I just love that. Like, it's such a great storytelling trope for me. Like, every Star Wars story has the line, I've got a bad feeling about this. And in the same way, every Boba Fett story has that trope. Boba
Some
Fett
disintegration.
disintegrates something, take a drink. Yeah.
Yeah. So ultimately, mystery drives interest. That's where I was trying to go. And he is the most mysterious character. If you're just looking at the films for the first time, even some of my friends who are barely watching Star Wars for the first time, they immediately, messaged me, "Who is this guy? He looks so cool." And I'm like, "See, still going. His interest is still going." So,
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, and I think that's what happened with Mandalorian too. They're just like,
oh
you
yeah,
put somebody in Mandalorian armor, and instantly there's that mystery of, I've got to know what's under there. What's fun is I was doing some research on this in the kind of the old school before Attack of the Clones, right? The Wild West with Boba Fett storytelling. There are some of the original creators thought of him as an alien, right? And so
yeah.
you can find all this. Just, I want to challenge everybody just to go. I don't typically plug this website, but go check out the Wook and look at the legends
So
page for Boba Fett. You'll be there the rest of your life. It is
yeah,
so long. But
I
down toward the bottom, there's a behind the scenes section, and it shows some different visual depictions of what he might have looked like under the
oh,
armor pre Daniel Logan. And it's so great. I love it.
it is. It is. Yeah, that article. I was in the airplane. I was like, "Oh, I've got a couple hours to spend. I'm gonna read this." And I looked at it. I was like, "I'm not gonna read this."
Yeah, I'm gonna need like a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
um, I think I'm gonna propose a hypothesis here. Is Boba Fett the single most visually interesting Star Wars character?
To me, absolutely, absolutely. And when they brought the clones in to the picture, I'll never forget just looking at them and I'm like, "Oh, they all look like Boba Fett. This is great. This is gonna be fantastic." And personally, I think it's just his visor. There's something so aesthetically pleasing about that T visor.
It
I
can't
don't
be
know what it
easy to
is.
like see your surroundings. Not great per riffs in that.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah. In my Jango Fett helmet that I've got, I just remember putting it on for the first time. I was like, "This is impossible. Like, how is he this good?"
Right. Well, in
Yeah.
in Karen Travis's, and she loves Mandalorian, she loves Boba Fett, does a lot with character in terms of building out his ethos in Legends, and then obviously famously left the project
Yeah.
because of some butting heads with Lucasfilm and the new direction they were taking Mandalorians in the Clone Wars. But her way of conceiving of the visor scenario and the peripheral vision problem is that the helmet had sensors that could pick up the full 360 peripheral vision, and then it's all displayed inside your helmet via screens that you can control with like blinks and scrunches of clacks of your teeth, and so you can cycle through different images.
So if you
And
have
so
allergies, you probably shouldn't wear the helmet.
that's so good. Surely they've got like air filters on there though, right?
Yeah, yeah,
No
definitely.
allergies. You take the helmet off, man, you stay away from maple trees this time of year. It's terrible. My car is just yellow. I wash it every day right now. It's just yellow, like a Coldplay song. Well, I got to admit, like, I have actually fallen into the camp of Andy Gutierrez on the Star Wars show famously said that Jango Fett is the better Fett. She refers to Jango as better Fett, which I love. And I actually was on board with that for a while until his reappearance in The Mandalorian, at least within canon. Within
Mhm.
canon, which there's not much Boba Fett to go on in canon other than Daniel Logan in the Clone Wars. That's about it. Until, of course, he just came back recently and was reintroduced, and they brought back Tamura Morrison and everything, and his reintroduction in season 2 for me really has salvaged the character in
Yeah.
canon. We're not talking about that character today. We're talking about a very different conception of Boba Fett in Legends, and there's wildly different conceptions of him too. But what was so interesting was you saw him kick butt outside the armor, and what they showed was for him, it's not the armor that makes him cool.
Yeah.
It's actually his own skills, his own like brutality, his no nonsense kind of personality. How do you think he was handled in The Mandalorian?
I think it was great. I liked it. first of all, the fact that they brought him back is just so nice to finally tell the haters he is alive. I told you,
Right.
Because that's the thing. Everyone's like, nope, he died. He died in the Sarlacc, and here's why he died. And I never accepted it. I always felt like he was alive. And of course, those people didn't read Legends, it seems. But yeah, I and it's funny because even Dengar in one of the comics calls Boba Sarlacc food. That's his nickname for Boba.
Yeah. Well, Dengar and Boba Fett have such a fun bromance in Legends, which is cool.
Yeah.
They're more of a rivalry in canon, but because Dengar is a little derpier in canon. In Legends, they are such a fun pair because Dengar saves him from the Sarlacc pit, and we'll talk about that. Now, I do want to ask, why do you think some people dislike Boba Fett? I think, like I said, it's been, and I was on this bandwagon for a while, I think it's been trendy to dislike Boba Fett. I know this is hard for you to hear, but reckon with it for a minute. Why do you think this is?
Well, I'm going to try to play devil's advocate on their behalf. They, the thing is, he's overrated. He's only got 5 lines. He doesn't really do much. The stuff that we do see of him, he goes straight into the Sarlacc, right? That's how everyone describes it.
Yeah, both the jetpack and
right in there. And even George Lucas had no idea what Boba Fett's I guess how popular Boba Fett was going to be. He even had an outtake of Boba Fett coming back out of the Sarlacc, but he just said it just didn't fit in the movie.
No
so
way! I think you should find that. That's cool.
Yeah. So, and I see their point of view because he is basically the action that we get from him. There's not much of it, and they just think like, why is he cool? This guy literally just went right into the Sarlacc, right? And I get that, but if you read Legends, to me, if you read Legends, you understand why this character is so cool, and obviously with it's cool to hate things, right? It's cool to dislike things, and I think that's the part is when something becomes popular, people just have to oppose it, and that's their prerogative. Whatever.
That's fine.
I like Boba Fett. I don't care.
I've got a working hypothesis on the big shift. I think most people who watch the original trilogy, especially if you like pre-ordered the Boba Fett toy before Empire Strikes Back, because he was introduced in the holiday special, there was so much hype built up around the character. And then in Empire, he's really cool. He's mysterious. Of course, that's before Return of the Jedi. So my hypothesis there is the people who love Boba the most loved him, were all in on loving him before they ever saw Return of the Jedi. Then, secondly, I think the people who most adamantly oppose Boba Fett and his popularity are the people who grew up with the prequels right alongside the original trilogy, or even with more exposure to the prequels and the original trilogy. Because think about this. Here's Boba Fett. Here's your introduction to Boba Fett and Attack of the Clones. Dad, John Wee's here. I mean, it's not especially threatening.
Is it his first line? Yep.
Is it? I'll have to look that up.
I think so.
But what's cool is Daniel Logan actually has really championed the character in his own fun way. All the actors who've played Boba Fett have done just a great job in interacting with the fandom. I love Daniel Logan's love for Star Wars. He regularly posts about Star Wars books.
He loves it. He's
a
really cool guy.
Which is fun. And then you actually have like a passing resemblance. You look a little cooler, with the facial hair, but like, you could, you don't look so. Can anybody else see this? Come on, help me out. Doesn't Freddy look a little bit like an adult Daniel Logan?
Yep.
You gotten this before?
No. I've gotten Keanu Reeves once. That's why I always fan cast him and everything.
So good.
But Daniel Logan, that's a first.
I can see it. We'll have to put up in the Discord a side by side of Freddy and adult Daniel Logan. We've got to find one with some facial hair on there. But we are going to talk about all of Boba's incredible, wonderful stories in Legends. And we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with the meat of the show.
Hello, Legends Lookback fans. It's Trevor here from the Star Wars Archives. Now, I know today's show has been all about Boba Fett, so Jared asked me to just make a short video, maybe talk about a few of the more obscure books that the guys wouldn't have covered. So, the first book I want to talk about today is The Bounty Hunter. So this is book 2 in the Lost Jedi Adventure series. Now, these are choose-your-own adventure books that were only ever published in the UK. And this book sees Boba Fett on the trail of Havit Storm, one of the rebels that was actually responsible for getting the Death Star plans transmitted off to Prawa back in the old Legends days. It's a really fun little read, aimed at younger readers, of course, but, you know, check it out, try and find it if you can. The next book I want to talk about is actually book 12 of a series, because why not? But we have Galaxy of Fear, The Hunger. Now, the Galaxy of Fear books came out in the 90s. For those who don't know, it's essentially Goosebumps in Star Wars. And everyone knows the Goosebumps series, wildly successful. It's kind of a take on that. Now, this one is particularly weird, though. So, not only is Boba Fett hired by Darth Vader to hunt down the main characters of the series, but they go to Dagobah, they meet Yoda, and more importantly, there's a character in this called Platt O'Keefe, who's a female smuggler that appeared in loads of the old West End games, role-playing games, source books and materials and short stories, but this is her one and only actual appearance in a proper book. So that makes it worth a mention for me, anyway. Then the last one I want to talk about, and this one you really, really should hunt down. So it's a short story called Boba Fett, A Practical Man, and it takes place around the beginning of the New Jedi Order series. So it covers the initial incursion into the galaxy by the Yuuzhan Vong. It's all about Boba Fett trying to help Mandalore rebuild itself and have a relationship with the greater society of the galaxy at large. It's a really cracking short story. I highly recommend everyone checking out. Now, it was originally just published online as an ebook, but it was reprinted in Legacy of the Force Sacrifice, also by Karen Travis, the author of A Practical Man. So those are my obscure picks. I hope you enjoy them. Try and hunt them down if you can. They're all well worth it. Back to you guys.
You know what all this is reminding me of, Freddy? So we get talking about Boba Fett here, is that Patton Oswalt, that scene from Parks and Rec from before The Force Awakens came out, and he did like the filibuster. Have you ever seen this? I'll post it in the Legends Lookback Discord. The extended version, not the one they actually aired in the show. You got to watch the extended version of. Patton Oswalt was just going off script. He was just improvising, and he came up with this whole plot for what episode 7 should be. And he's like, Boba Fett's gauntlet comes up out of the Sarlacc. Then he's holding Chewbacca's severed head. And I've just been sitting here trying not to laugh thinking about that the whole episode. But unfortunately, that story is never in Legends. But tell the good folks what is. The first category we're going to be talking about tonight is the most important Boba Fett story. We're going to talk about the most important Boba Fett story in Legends, the best Boba Fett story. They're not necessarily the same. We're going to talk about an underrated Boba story, the weirdest Boba story, and the worst Boba story, bless its heart. All right, you're up, Freddy.
I can't wait for that one.
What you got?
So, the most important Boba story to me is Blood Ties. And I'm not sure if you've read Blood Ties, but that's the series where Django is basically training Boba Fett. And you can see it starts off with a beautiful image. I think I sent it over to you, where he's surrounded. Yeah, he's surrounded by a bunch of thugs and a crime lord, basically. And there's a Rancor, exactly. And there's a Rancor behind him. And I can't read it, but basically he's saying...
I didn't even notice the Rancor. That's cool.
yeah, it's beautiful. The whole point of it is he's surrounded, and everybody there wants to kill him, but he's not afraid. And then the second page literally jumps to like a flashback of Jango Fett training Boba how to use the
young Boba, sure.
Yeah, exactly, young Boba, how to use the jetpack, right? And he's like, "Are we doing flight practice?" He goes, "Not really. I want you to take a tooth from the most fearsome animal you're ever going to see in your life." And it's called the Balyeg, I believe. Yeah. And that Balyeg is just incredibly scary. And I can only imagine at his age, like 10 years old or something like that, to take a tooth from that thing. And the whole point of that training from Jango was, if you're ever in a situation where you might feel fear, just remember you faced the most fearful thing in the galaxy, and it's already behind you. So you'll never have to be afraid again. And that was the whole point of that training.
Now, this is Definitely in contention for me. Yeah, I would definitely put it up there in my top 5 of the most important Boba Fett stories in terms of showing his arc, his development
Yeah.
from how do you go from Daniel Logan to, Jeremy Bullock or
Yep.
Tamura Morrison, right? Um, this is really cool. It's written by Tom Taylor, who, for my money, is one of the best writers in comic
Yes.
books. He's
Yes.
an Aussie, so shout out to our buddy in Down Under, Adam over there. But Tom Taylor has not written many Star Wars stories in comparison to what he's written for other media. He's written some Darth Maul. He's written some canon stuff, Age of Resistance. He wrote a ton of X-Men, Wolverine stories,
Yeah.
and is just absolutely one of my favorite Legends authors. Underrated. We need to get a guide up about him on the site, I think.
Yeah, I think him mixed with Chris, I think his name is Chris Scalf, the artist of this comic book series. I mean, if you
Checks
look
out.
at this
Sounds
art,
right.
it's beautiful.
It's so cool. Yeah, it's different.
It is. It's different. It's digital art, actually.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, you can tell just by a lot of the scenes. Maybe we'll try to pop it up in our art show coming up. But yeah, it's one of my favorites. I think it's the most important because you get to learn about Boba Fett, how he becomes the person he is, and you get to see Jango Fett training him as a father and son, well, father and clone, I guess. And you see the pain in Boba Fett too when Jango Fett dies, or and everything that's happening there. So it's, in my opinion, if you want to learn Boba Fett and his backstory and who he is and why he is the way he is, you have to read Blood Ties.
Yeah, great pick. I just downloaded it this morning. I was hoping I could squeeze it in before the show, but my kids had other plans. Boy, did they ever. I'm hoping to reread it soon. It's so good. So good. This could actually be in contention for the best as well, not just most important. For me, I'm going to go a different direction. You went comics and it's a story that crosses the bridge from prequel Boba to original trilogy Boba. I'm going to go like sequel era Boba, and I'm going to talk mostly about the novels. Obviously, as we showed off earlier, he does first reappear in 1991's Dark Empire. And I love this line in the middle of the page there. He says this, I would say this is the single greatest line in all of Legends, maybe, for me. I need to get my wife to do a mural of this line. It's so good. The Sarlacc, let me see if I can do it in a Boba Fett voice. The Sarlacc found me somewhat indigestible solo. How was that? Like at least a 6 out of 10?
That was good, actually. That was really good.
All right. I'll take a 6. Don't need a 7. It's important in the comics, but then I'm also going to give a shout out to it's in perfect Star Wars fashion, Freddy. The same story is told different ways in more than one book. So it is in both Tales from Jabba's Palace. There's a story of Boba escaping the Sarlacc pit, see who it's by and what its name is. And then also it's retold in the Mandalorian Armor. So it's retold in the Bounty Hunter Wars series. Not to be confused with the new canon comic War of the Bounty Hunters. Don't they love to recycle titles?
Yeah, they do.
This one is called, oh, come on, why do you got to give these books such... Each one has a title, The Rancor Keeper's Tale.
I think it's the Bard, right? The Bard.
Oh, okay, there's a backside in the contents. No wonder. All right, haven't found it yet. Bad Feeling, Bulbo, Assassin. Where are you? There it is.
It might be towards the end. Yeah.
A Barv Like That, The Tale of Boba Fett by J.D. Montgomery.
There you go.
It's a little difficult. It's a little wordy, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
The way it's the story of how he gets out of the guts of the Sarlacc, and it's so brutal and 90s. It's excellent in a weird way. And then, like I said, it is also told with flashbacks to Boba's like the main character in the Bounty Hunter Wars series. He's the most likable character for sure because they're all despicable.
Yeah.
And that's a very important story for Boba Fett. I would say in Legends, maybe the most important for my money is how he's handled in the Bounty Hunter Wars series. Not that it's the best series, but that it really establishes Boba as having his own code. He's not just going to be yanked around. He's not just a peon for the Bounty Hunters Guild. He's like an anti-hero in that series, don't you think?
I think so. Yeah, he's he definitely is an anti-hero, but if you go back and look at Boba's history, even in Clone Wars, he is an honorable man, right? And that's the thing that everybody stresses about Jango. You know, everyone liked, I wouldn't say liked Jango, but they respected him. So when Boba's walking around, they say, I'm sorry for your loss. He was a very honorable man. Hondo Anaka says the same thing. So I'm glad that note kind of carried through from the old legends into the newer legends. So it's good to see that.
Yeah,
And I
that's a
definitely
good
love
point, because Jango was
stories.
honorable. Not all the clones are honorable. Some of them are, and you can see that in like the Bad Batch, for example. Some of them really do have that heart of gold, and others, they just kill you.
Yeah.
Okay, next category, Freddy. Tell us what we got.
You know what? This one was really tough for me because I would say the best Boba story is the one you have as well, and I was having a hard time trying to figure out another good one.
You can take it, and I'll talk about
No, it's
another
okay. I'm gonna talk about Enemy of the Empire, which I like Enemy of the Empire. I'm not. It's funny. You'll see my trend is my favorite Boba stories happen to be comics because you get to see Boba Fett, right? You get to see his armor, you get to see him in action, and I think when it came to comic books, those are the comics I collected. So
Let me
I'm gonna
throw
let
this
you
out
take.
there about the comics, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
In Legends comics, there are two characters who receive more space and attention in individual issues than any other character. I would say between Darth Vader and Boba Fett, put those together, you've got at least 70% of Legends comics, don't you think?
Yeah, that's about right.
That's not like a real precise figure, just made it up right here, right now, but there are so many Boba Fett comics in Legends.
There are. Enemy of the Empire is both Vader and Boba Fett, and it's actually just before, it's the first encounter of Vader and Boba Fett, and Vader is sending Boba Fett on basically a mission where he's gonna end up killing him. At least that's what he thinks. And I'm not gonna go too far into it because I haven't read all of it yet, but he's got this mission from Vader to go get this. I think it's like a coffin of some sort, and Vader sends out like a bunch of scrappy pirates to go deal with Boba Fett, and then the pirates are going to come back, and then Vader's going to deal with them. Obviously, he doesn't do that. We see Boba Fett later on as one of Vader's favorite bounty hunters. So it's a pretty cool story. I would say it's in terms of best. Yours coming up is probably the best in my opinion.
I'm sitting here racking my mind on whether or not I've ever read that. I am just not sure.
Yeah, I think it's like 3 BBY, so definitely before the events of the films.
It's tough because so many of the Boba Fett books and some of the Boba Fett comics are just like Boba Fett, something. So it's hard. I know I just bought Enemy of the Empire. I know I just bought it for sure because it was like the only one about Boba Fett that I could find that I was getting ready for this episode. And I still didn't get to read it in time. But I'm looking forward to diving into it. And I'll let you guys know what I think after I've tackled it. Definitely. So it's my turn. I'm going to talk about one that it looked like Freddie and I were kind of battling over. Is later in the timeline. So we've talked about prequel era Boba Fett. We've talked about original trilogy era Boba Fett. I'm going to take us deep into the Legacy of the Force series. So this is toward the end of the Legends timeline. This is the second book in the series, and it is Bloodlines by Karen Traviss. First of all, one of the best covers in all of Legends. The red and green, just doesn't it look like just the perfect stocking stuffer? What a great Christmas present. Got the red and green Boba Fett right there. What's cool is it is basically the story of 70-year-old Boba Fett trying to do good again. And he has just won the war against the Yuuzhan Vong. He helped repel the Vong, and then is now going back to Mandalore, trying to help lead his people, not as a warrior, but to just rebuild their society, because Mandalore has been decimated. They need him to be a leader, not in battle, but as a man. And he has to like parent his granddaughter, which is a really interesting dynamic. Eventually, later on in the series, he trains Jaina Solo, and teaches her. She basically becomes like a Mandalorian trained Jedi. So she gets like the Beskar
Yeah.
gauntlets that
So
can,
cool.
deflect lightsaber slashes. And in this story, in the end, I think the third act has Han teaming up with Boba Fett to
Yep.
take down Thrak and Sal Solo. I mean,
Yep.
that's the most legendsy thing ever. But it goes back to what I love the most about a good Boba Fett story is it's not just about him looking cool in the armor. Strip
Yeah.
the armor off. Let's get to who he is as a man. And the story does that really well, and it shows his vulnerability. And of course, Boba Fett, maybe like the broiest character in all of Legends.
Oh, for
And I
sure.
think that's one of the criticisms is like he is representative of toxic masculinity to some. And so this story is so cool because he's hanging out with like a teenage girl. It has to like be a good grandpa.
Yeah, that's right. It's his granddaughter comes to find him later on,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
right.
yeah. Beautiful story.
I
Definitely contention for the best in my opinion.
I had a friend, teenager from church a few years ago, who was getting into Star Wars books. Of course, asked me for some recommendations. Several years ago, right after Bloodlines by Claudia Gray had just come out. Now, there's a difference. No, Bloodline, singular. This is Bloodlines, plural. I always mess these up. She was asking me for recommendations. I was like, man, Bloodline was really good. It was such an excellently told Leia story because we had gone to see The Force Awakens together. I was like, this is it. 7 years for The Force Awakens paves the way for that. She goes to the library and she gets the wrong book. She gets Bloodlines. Guess what? She friggin' loved it because it's an excellent book.
It is. It
So
really is.
she knew nothing of Yuuzhan Vong War. She didn't read book 1, Legacy of the Force. She just read Bloodlines. I was like, oh, no, you got to read more. She's like, no, I'm good. But like, this was good. I know it is great. This is great. It's great. All right. So next category, Freddie.
Yeah, so we've got the underrated Boba story, and I know that this also, I would say that these books also go to some of the worst ones, and I think it's just my opinion. But underrated is definitely it's Boba Fett Hunted, which is the young reader book by Elizabeth Hand. Now, the young reader books, we'll talk about those later, but Hunted is basically the entrance of Jabba, the introduction to Jabba and Boba Fett, right? Boba Fett knows of Jabba, and Jabba's heard of him, but he doesn't really know who Boba Fett is, and needs to get some kind of proof that he is as good as everyone says he is, right? And in this book, it's Boba Fett versus Dirge. So
Oh,
it's
that's right. I forgot.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fun little story, and the whole point is there's a dangerous bounty, and Jabba sets, whoever comes back with the bounty or proof of that bounty, gets to, I'll honor that as you are the best and you can work for me kind of person, right? So of course Boba Fett and Dirge go out to find this person. Dirge gets a little crazy and blows everything up, and all Boba Fett does is take a hat and proves right then and there. He's like, all right, you're Jabba, got him.
What does Charles call Dirge? What was Charles saying on the Living Force the other day? That he's made of, is it Play-Doh? Jello?
Yeah, something like, yeah.
Silly string?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, we'll talk about Dirge in maybe later episodes, but I'm so sad that we didn't get to see his, more of him, right? But
he's back, baby. He's
back.
in canon. For
Yeah.
sure. I'm so excited. That's what I'll do. The only variant cover I'll get for War of the Bounty Hunters, if you just stick Jello Dirge coming apart at the seams. So excited.
Dirge.
You got right there alongside Hot Dog Boba Fett, Jello
Hot
Dirge.
Dog Boba Fett.
All right, my most underrated Boba Fett story. You just wait, Freddie. I'm gonna take yours to task. I think that Young Reader Boba Fett series is atrocious.
Well, that's why I put the rest of them on the worst Boba Fett.
that one actually is probably the strongest in the series, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
That sounds right. Yeah, Dirge. You put Dirge in the story, automatically bumps it up a letter grade. Sure. Yeah. Mine is an ebook. It's a novella. It is Boba Fett, A Practical Man by, and this is becoming a pattern, I realize, I'm sorry, by Karen Travis again. Not all of my picks are by Karen Travis. But this is so cool because Boba was kind of absent for quite a while in Legends storytelling. He comes up out of the Starlight Pit, and then, well, he does the whole Bounty Hunter Wars, but then where'd he go? what's interesting is there's actually a retcon. Do you know about this, Freddy? That he is impersonated for a while by Jodo Cast.
Yeah.
I need to look up the exact story where the retcon is established. I know that one of my favorite Boba stories, which is Shards of Alderaan in the New Jedi Knights, Young Jedi Knights, Shards of Alderaan, which is such a cool cover. Look at this sucker, Freddy. So
Yeah.
awesome. The silver
Yeah,
and
that's
purple
nice.
with Boba in the middle. So excellent. Anyway, in this, it's established that the Boba Fett who captures the Solo twins is actually not Boba Fett. But so for a long time he's gone. And here's the retcon. He becomes Mandalore. And this is the story of how Boba steps into the limelight, is not just a random Mandalorian out, performing hits on criminals and crime lords, but he is basically called by, I think his name is Finn Shisa, this sounds right, who his dying wish is that Boba would take up the helm and become Mandalore, capital M Mandalore, the leader of the people. And it's only 100 pages. I actually got the ebook for free just yesterday from my local library. I'm hoping I can sit down and read it. There's a lot to read, Freddie. There's a lot to read.
Yeah.
And in this, it's about how the Mandalorians repel the Yuuzhan Vong, and they do it by enlisting themselves to the Yuuzhan Vong.
Yep.
As mercenaries who are going to do bad for, going to do all kinds of bad stuff. And when it's all said and done, of course, they are working for the New Republic. They're like sleeper agents.
Yeah.
What do you call that? Double agents.
Double agents. Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty good story, and I think I'm not sure when it's made clear, but Boba Fett decides to work for the Yuuzhan Vong, and I remember at that time I was like, "Come on, you can't do that!" But of course, goes back to the old adage, right? Keep your enemies close, or closer, I guess. Your friends close. So, pretty interesting way how that developed. Honestly, a very very good and underrated, definitely underrated story.
Absolutely, it's excellent. Talk to us about the weirdest Boba Fett story.
Oh man. Okay, so
we had to go here.
This is probably the most legendsy story that you'll ever hear. All right, so the weirdest Boba Fett story. I'm not even sure where to start with this, but it's called Bounty on Barkuda, and there's a Hutt. His name is Gorga the Hutt. He's absolutely in love with another Hutt, and I think I sent you a
sure, yeah, I'll pull this up.
A visual of what he's saying, and he's basically like describing this Hutt and how beautiful she is, her nice supple dumpling lips or something like that, and and so he's absolutely in love. Turns out that this Hutt, her name is Narco or something like that, Anacro. She is the daughter of Orko, and Orko does not like Gorga. So Gorga's like, how can I win over Orko? And he finds out that there's this pirate who just keeps demolishing and stealing a lot of things from Orko. And so he's like, you know what? I'm going to hire Boba Fett to go deal with this Barkuda. Well, Boba Fett uses the help of a magician named Magwit, and he has this like hoop that's basically like a teleporter, and he's doing magic tricks with this hoop, and he coaxes Barkuda. Magwit coaxes Barkuda to go through it. Boba Fett takes Barkuda and basically gives him to the Hutts, and the Hutts cook him and eat him.
Oh my gosh, they eat the other Hutt?
they eat the Barkuda guy, the
magician.
No, Magwit's the magician. So here's the thing. Let me just summarize it. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna try to re-summarize this. We're gonna have to re-edit this.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
So basically, here's the story. A Hutt hires Boba Fett. Boba Fett uses a magician to get access into the ship, because this is like basically Black Sun level intensity, right? Uses a magician who's like the size of, he's like 3 feet tall, probably. He's super short, got a pointy hat. You find him at a circus at the very beginning of the comic book. And he's like, you know what? You used to work for Barkuda. I'm going to use you to get me into that ship. And the whole thing is like this guy literally doing magic tricks. And I feel like most of the panels are this guy doing magic tricks for Barracuda. It's the weirdest thing you're ever gonna see. Just
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how else to describe it. And this whole thing is just really odd. Cam Kennedy does the art for this too, so
Yeah, I did
at least the
notice
art's
that.
great.
I'm in love with this Lumpy Hut art. I gotta admit.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's tough for me because the weirdest Boba Fett story I know I have yet to discover. Right? I know it's out there and it exists, and one day I'll find it, but I haven't yet, and that's why I'm excited to hear Trevor's picks on this. I know it's gonna blow me out of the water. It better blow me out of the water. That's why you're here, Trev. I've got a couple. My first one is actually a book that I really recommend. It's like a horror Halloweeny story. It's from the Dark Horse Star Wars Adventures. So it's Boba Fett and the Ship of Fear. As I mentioned, I somehow didn't end up getting in the digital sale. But that one is, I think it's in our horror collection. It's Boba Fett dealing with the ugliest, craziest, meanest zombie-like creatures on this. I think it's an abandoned Star Destroyer. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've read it. The other one, I don't necessarily recommend that everybody read, but Boba is pretty active in the Galaxy of Fear series. One of them, I kid you not, is called The Brain Spiders. So I'm just going to leave it at that. There you go. That's probably got to be one of the weirder ones, right?
Yeah, there's in Legends, the amount of weird content. When you gave me this task and I saw worst Boba story or weirdest Boba story, I was like, oh my goodness, here we go. There's so many good ones out there. The fact that we've got Ship of Fear with the brain spiders, Boba Fett enlisting the help of a magician. It's
right.
It's Legends, classic.
Yeah, that magician one. I can't wait. I gotta check that one out. And our final category for the day is the worst Boba Fett story, bless its heart. Now, we have to say this one a little bit tongue-in-cheek because Freddie and I have pretty unanimous picks on this. Now, I'm sure there's something out there we have yet to discover, but we celebrate the Star Wars stories at Youtini. We're not going to dump on them. But I will say I read through the Young Reader Boba Fett stories from Elizabeth Hand and Terry Bisson. No, there's 5 or 6. I think there's 6 in the series. Read through these a couple years ago, and I had just read, all the Jedi Apprentice, Jedi Quest, Last of the Jedi, all of those Young Readers, and I was like, oh, cool. There's a series about Boba too. It's only 6, so it's not going to take as long. Oh man, it was not of the same storytelling or emotional depth as Jude Watson's books, in my opinion.
No, I mean Jude does such a great job at his stories, and
the woman,
or she, sorry, she
That's
does
not
great.
her real name either. It's a pen name.
No, yeah, pen name. She does a great job with all of her stories, and honestly, the Fight to Survive, Crossfire are not. They're okay, right? They're depending on where you are at, right? If you're an advanced reader, you're not going to really care for these books, these young reader books. I can't really speak to them, as a young reader, how would it have read?
Yeah, I've got friends that read them, at 10, 12 years old who love them.
Yeah.
So especially right about the time Attack of the Clones came out. These came out between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. I've got a friend who's like, man, you got to read those books. They're great. So I think that's like the 12-year-old nostalgia speaking. Corey famously liked these when he was younger, which is cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of continuity errors in them that I couldn't really look past, right? I think in I forget, I'm not sure if it's I think it might have been Elizabeth Hand's book. I forget which one. She talks about him going to Coruscant for the very first time when in book 1 he was already there.
So it's not like she contradicted something that's going to come later. It was her own stuff. That's funny.
Yeah,
it happens to the best of us. These young reader books, in my assessment, I think the authors pretty well just crank them out.
Yeah, that's the kind of feeling that you get when you read it. There's obviously Leland Shee's not going to spend the time to look at the continuity of these, right? And
we will.
We do because that's we don't get paid to do it either. So we just love our Youtini books.
Yeah, definitely. They're, for what it's worth, I'd say they're worth the read. They're only 6 books, and you got to get to the last one, which has Dirge. So that one's cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'd like to know what you think. Have you read any that we have yet to get to? Would love to hear your assessments on these. The most important Boba Fett story, the best Boba Fett story, an underrated Boba Fett story, the weirdest, and the worst, bless its heart. Now, before we're done with the show, I do want to ask Freddie, Do you have any other honorable mentions that have not yet made the show?
Uh, I I really do like Blood Ties and Boba Fett. There's so many comics, right? Man, I couldn't even count. I was trying to look at them. There's Twin Engines of Destruction, which is an honorable mention. I mentioned Enemy of the Empire. There's a few good ones there too. But I think Blood Ties, Boba Fett is Dead is a good honorable mention. I didn't mention that one here. I think it's a separate 4-issue
Yeah.
comic book set. And of course, you've got Tales of the Bounty Hunters. Very good read. Little section there, and then
yeah, we didn't talk about that, did we? Yeah.
no. So a lot of good. Look, I mean, if you're looking for Boba Fett content, comic books, man, you're gonna find a lot of good stuff there, and there's a lot of good stories and a lot of weird stories.
Yeah.
And in the books themselves, right, you've got the classics, the Tales series, right? You've got Tales of Jabba's Palace, and then the Bounty Hunters.
I'm gonna plug one too, and that is Tales from the Empire.
Yep.
And this one has Boba on the cover. Now, I'm trying to find which one is the Boba Fett story in here. We're going to try to read this later this year and tackle this and review it. Now, what's fun is there is the longest story in here is by Timothy Zahn. It's called Side Trip. Now, I'm going to post in the Legends Look Back Discord channel. I don't have it pulled up right now, but in the Essential Reader's Companion, there's art that was done specifically for the Side Trip story, which is Thrawn impersonating Jodo Cast impersonating Boba Fett.
Oh,
So
great.
it's Thrawn in Boba Fett's armor. It's out there. It's official art. It exists, and it's incorporated into this. It was originally published, I think, in the Adventure Journals, and then was recollected in Tales from the Empire. So I'm excited to get to that. That's maybe the only Thrawn story I've never read. So looking forward to it. Now, everybody, we are, of course, going to close out the show here. We want to know your picks, however. What did you love about Boba Fett as a character? What stories do you love? And Freddie, we've got a new Boba Fett show coming out later this year. In a minute or less, can you tell us, what's one thing you'd love to see in the show?
I'd like to see some sort of development of how he became who he is, and first of all, how the heck did he get out of that Sarlacc? What did he do?
Oh, like a flashback. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'd like to see, and I know Star Wars really doesn't do flashbacks. I mean, they've got the Force back, right? So I'd like to see how they integrate, Boba Fett in the Clone Wars and the prequels, how he got out of the Sarlacc pit, and basically his development. I want to see his development, but I feel like we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I'm not sure if they're just going to, whatever happened in the past is the past, and we're just going to move forward, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting.
I didn't know that I needed that until you said that, and I definitely want to see the gauntlet coming up out of the Sarlacc pit. That should just be the opening frame of the show. Just he blasts out of the Sarlacc pit. That'd be cool. I'm gonna say I want to see Boba Fett disintegrate an entire colony of Kowakian monkey lizards. I want to see him. One of them comes up and sniffs him, and he's like, "Oh, what's up, little fella?" And he pets it. And then it bites him on the finger, and then he just pulls out all of his guns, and it's just just blasts them all to pieces. And
disintegrations.
That would be great. Looks like you're hunting for something, Freddie. You got one more thing to show off?
No, I'm trying to find that picture with Boba Fett and Thrawn.
Oh yeah, we'll throw it up in the Discord channel. We'll just tease it. We'll throw it up and say we talked about this coming Thursday. So this has been a lot of fun. Thank you everybody for hanging out with us here on Legends Look Back. Whew, this has been an episode a long time coming, Freddie. Finally did it. You excited that we finally did Boba Fett?
I am. I felt like I had to prepare for it because he is my favorite character.
Very prepared.
I had to make sure that I proved why I liked him so much, right? And so, I personally, long time coming. Glad we did it, and I hope it's not the last time we talk about Boba Fett.
No, there's no way. We'll cover some of these stories. We'll do roundtables on every single Boba Fett comic there ever was. No commitments. I probably can't do that. There's a lot. But coming up next week, we are going to be doing an episode we've been planning for a while, trying to figure out the technology and how to make it work. We're going in good Grand Admiral Thrawn fashion. We're going to be admiring some art. We're going to be reviewing some Legendsy art books. For example, I've got Star Wars panel to panel covering all of the Dark Horse Comics art. And so we're going to be analyzing and admiring some of the best Legends art that ever was. We're going to have an art off, and then whoever loses gets assassinated by a Nogri. Isn't that how it works, Freddy?
Right in the back.
And then if you are reading along with us and want to prepare for what we are going to be talking about in our next roundtable, tell them what we're going to be reading next, Freddy.
Yeah, so we've got check this out. Here's my Legends Look Back calendar.
Yeah, wow, look at that. You use a real paper and pencil.
Yeah.
Amazing. Old
Shadows of the
school.
Empire. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, I am so excited. It's got everything. And that's a good Boba Fett story, too. The comic specifically covers more of Boba's arc. How do we go through this whole episode and not talk about Boba and Shadows of the Empire?
I figure it was going to be mentioned during the episode anyway. At least at Cosmic Force, right? Cosmic Force is probably going to cover it. So
yeah, we are. We're going to talk about that on Cosmic Force. You're welcome to join that episode, too, by the way. I should probably give you the date on that. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us for this episode of Legends Look Back. Thanks to our incredible patrons for your support. We love making the show, in case you can't tell, and we're glad that you're along for the ride. Special thank you to Cheryl Bell, Patrick Ortiz, Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, Elizabeth Cloutier, Jason Mitchell, Sally Chris Eilerson, and Freddie C. on our Alliance High Command for their amazing support. If you would like your thoughts around the show, you can email us, legendslookback@youtini.com. You can send us a message in the Legends Look Back Discord channel. You can leave a comment on this episode on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter at Legends Look Back, or me, I'm at Jared Q. Mays. Freddie?
At Wake Up Freddy.
Excellent. If you are looking to buy some of these books and want to help support the show, boy, did we give you a lot of books you could buy in this episode. You can click on the Amazon link on the profile. Or, of course, if you want to let us know what is the best or the weirdest Boba Fett story or whatever, you can click on a link there on the book profile and leave us a review and let us know what you think. Remember, everybody, he's no good to us dead. No, that's not it. What is it? Remember, keep the Youtini fan code and be a force for positivity in the fandom. May the force be with you.